welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Podcast, the show where we take a given movie genre and we explore those titles that are really great, even though the book was better. Those bad movies where the book was definitely better, and those ugly movies where the book was still better. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark.
Hey, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Charles.
And today we are exploring movies based on well-regarded fiction,
which is Mark's pick.
Yes, I'm kind of really excited about these picks. Actually,
that's what you were saying earlier. I can tell.
Mark, I have to just say, at first I was like, I don't know about these, but then as I finished watching them, I think these are really good picks. I don't think that they're the ones I would have chosen just because there's such a wide swath of things that you could have chosen for this topic. You know what I mean? So everyone's bound to disagree a little bit, but I think these are really good picks. So I'm excited to talk about them with you guys.
There were definitely a lot to choose from.
Indeed. And you chose these three.
Yeah.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean, Charles?
Nothing out of all those. No, it's good.
So we're looking at the Time Machine, Beowulf, and The Road.
Time Machine's the earliest, right? So
was that? Yes.
So do you want to do the synopsis or the trailer first?
Let's jump right into the trailer.
All right, here we go.
Such stories as H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds and Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea have challenged mankind. So today, man is successfully probing deep into the mysteries of the universe. Can he penetrate the greatest mystery of all, time itself? Magic of George Pal and the fabulous production know-how of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer to catapult you through time into a world that is yet to be.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension? You see, we can move in the other three. As the doctor said, up, down, forwards, backwards, sideways. But when it comes to time, we are prisoners.
Inventor Rod Taylor's breakthrough into the realm of the fourth dimension is defied by his friend Alan Young.
If that machine can do what you say it can, destroy it, George, before it destroys you.
Every moment is a year, hurtling through the atomic wars of the future on an incredible excursion into the unknown. What are the people like? Ah, the shape of things to come. It's lovely Yvette Mimieux. And what happens when boy meets girl thousands of years hence?
How do they wear their hair?
Who?
The women of your time.
Up like that?
Show me.
Is this the human race of the future? Or is this the Morlocks, fiendish creatures who live in a weird underground world? And the Eloi, the tranquil sunshine people, who the Morlocks dominate and maintain like cattle, luring them below with the hypnotic wail of the sirens, to feed upon them in cannibalistic horror.
So that was the trailer for the 1960 version of the Time Machine. You want to read the synopsis now, Mark?
Charles. We're looking at a 2002 Time Machine.
What? The man in what?
Oh my God! You need your own time machine, Charles. You went back too far.
Maybe I do. Hold on.
We only have to go.
All right.
17 years back.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it here. All right, here we go.
The one that's even better.
Our next stop is Antiquities. Make sure that your microscans are charged for download. Let's go. And Tommy, if you do that again, I will resequence your DNA, so help me. Now march.
Welcome. How may I help you? Over here, area of inquiry.
Tell me about the Time Machine.
Time Machine was written by H.G. Wells in 1894. It was later adapted to a motion picture by George Pal and a stage musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber, which ran on Broadway for 23 years. Would you like to hear selections from the score?
No.
There's a place called Tomorrow.
Thank you. That's quite enough.
Will there be anything else?
No. No, I think I'll have better luck in a few hundred years.
Time travel.
It's possible, sir.
Not in this world.
Where do you come from?
I'm from the past.
I wonder if we'll ever go too far.
With what?
With this, with all of this. No such thing.
Why have you traveled through time?
To have a question answered. Why can't one change the past?
Why would you want to? You lost someone you loved very much. You should go back to your own time.
Why?
There are things better left not said.
Tell me what's happening here.
What if the truth will haunt your dreams for all time?
Well, I think I'm used to that. This was not supposed to happen. They're human beings.
I can look inside your memories, your dreams, your nightmares.
We'll have to fight. You have to resist!
Nothing will change the future.
You're wrong. I will change it.
And we're back. Hopefully
Back
that was
to
the
the
right
future.
that was the right trailer, right?
Yes, 2002. And here's the synopsis. Alexander Hartigan is a scientist and an inventor who is determined to prove that time travel is possible. When the girl he loves is tragically killed, Alexander is determined to go back in time and change the past. Testing his theories, the time machine has hurtled 800,000 years into the future. He discovers a terrifying new world. Instead of mankind being the hunter, they are now the hunted, with him stuck in the middle.
Indeed.
Yeah, so what do y'all think? Good, bad, or ugly?
I think this is gonna be your ugly.
I think it's gonna be your bad.
Oh no. I feel like I always disappoint Kelly.
Mark, why?
This is in fact my bad pick.
No.
So sorry.
All right.
Kel. So sorry.
It's fine. I'll survive.
Yeah, this movie is like, I saw it a long time ago, and I was young enough where it should have been still cool to me because of the special effects and just the time travel. But no, this movie was not cool.
I think any age is cool for special effects and time travel.
What did you say?
I'm kidding. I was saying that the any age is appropriate for or cool for time travel.
Yeah, but at that age, I was still able to like, oh my gosh, this is a great movie because it's got lasers. I hadn't developed a more mature viewing system, but still, this movie was pretty bad.
I remember I was so excited to see it. Like I was in California at the time, and I went to the theater, and I was so jacked because I think you mentioned this last time. It's the grandson of H.G. Wells that wrote it. Yeah, so it's Simon Wells, and I was kind of like, all right, this is gonna be cool. Like, of course, it's gonna make it good, and it's gonna be tribute to his grandfather and all this. And then no, it was terrible.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I thought it was your ugly. The first half, I don't know. The first half of this movie is classic ugly to me. Like it almost felt like an 1800s Lifetime movie or some kind of spoof about Groundhog Day or something. Where I was kind of getting into it. It was goofy. It was absurd. It had that secret sauce of badness that kept me entertained. But then the second half just really lost me. It stopped making any kind of sense. The thing with Samantha Mumba, I didn't really understand if that was supposed to be an implied relationship. I just don't know. But yeah,
I think it was, yeah, or at least that's how we're expected to see what happens after the events of the movie, is that they're gonna be in a relationship together.
Right. And I haven't seen, I confess, I haven't read The Time Machine, so I don't know if that's how it was written or if it was just.
No.
Okay. It felt very Hollywood. But
I haven't either, so I don't. I was going to ask you that, Mark. I'm assuming you read all three of these, right?
Yeah, I have. It's quite a good story. Obviously, it's so loved, and but kind of the half of the movie is pretty accurate to the story. He doesn't lose his girlfriend though, but he does go forward in time. He sees that there are these two races. They're not. I don't. It's been a while since I've read it, but they're not quite as humanoid as we see them. I think they're like smaller, kind of like cute little creatures who live on top of the world. And then underneath are the separate race who come and eat them, and that's just how that's how the world works. And then he decides he kind of has to escape from there, and he goes even farther in the future, like way, way, way in the future, and sees these really creepy, like I think they're octopi type things crawling on the kind of dead surface of the earth, and it freaks him out so much that he goes back home to his original time, like back to when he left. And
so he never lost a girlfriend or anything like that.
No.
That was actually.
And it's a short story, or at least novella. It's not really even that long of a story.
That was one of the things that really bugged me, because it was, when he's trying to save her each time, like out the window she dies. It was almost absurd the way she would die. Like, it was comical to me. Like, and it should have been dramatic, but it didn't have the weight. I don't know why.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it should have been like, oh my god, it's really tragic. Like, oh no. But instead, it's like unintentional laughter when just like out the window she's dying.
In front of the flower stand.
In front of the flower. Yes, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And
so, correct me if I'm wrong, but she only dies twice, right?
Yes.
And then he decides this will happen every time,
Right.
But I assume that they implied that she died a lot more is kind of what.
I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah.
So even on top of that, still I have another main complaint to this movie, which is they don't understand how time works. 800,000 years in the future would be so far removed from anything. They're still talking about like the moon being destroyed. Like nobody would care anymore. Like that. Like back when the moon was destroyed, we still speak English. 800,000 years later.
Even when even in the era, were they 800,000 years, or did he go further than that? He went further, right, and came back.
He went 800,000. That's when all the main stuff happened with the two races. But then he goes and so the bad guys have built these like statuesque, huge, mean faces on the surface. Then he goes, I think it's like 6 million years into the future, or 6 billion. I think there is actually 6 billion or trillion with all those zeros, and they're still the same like heads. Like there's no way that the civilization could last that long.
I guess they're thinking the sun will last for a long time. But okay, so they at least tried to explain the English part. It's on the tablets or whatever, the tablet language. But it was still ridiculous that she would speak perfect English for him. Just where he happened to go, and I don't know. Was that at all accurate to the book? Like any of that? I mean, you said it was more little creatures, and the book was more about like society and different levels of like, right? Like, wasn't it the people almost like bourgeois and whatever the other one is? I always forget. But like, it was like a class thing, right?
Yeah, there's a famous name for the underclass, and of course I can't remember it. I'll look it up here. But that's really the only thing that's that close to the story.
But okay, so that was the thing that bugged me, like all of that. But I tell you, like, there are some things I like about this movie. But hold on, before I get to that, though, we should actually mention Guy Pearce. He's terrible in this movie. Like,
yeah,
and he shows up in the road a little bit, and I as I kind of realized that, I'm like, oh, Guy Pearce, he just never really took off as an actor. Like, you haven't seen him in many movies recently at all. Like, and I think this movie is actually a good example of why. Like, he's so flat in it. And anyway, so, but as far as what I do like, I think Kelly will probably not like this part, but I like Jeremy Irons in it. Like, I thought I liked his part a lot. It was,
oh no,
I did. When they go into the evil guy lair, I forget what his name is, but when they go in the lair and he has the conversation with him, I've watched this a couple of times, and Jeremy Irons is actually kind of nice to him. He's like, you have your answer, now go. He's gonna let him go. Like, nothing, no harm, no foul. Like, okay, cool. This guy's not being a jerk. He's not being mean to him at all. He just, I love it though.
Well, other than
I really do.
He's trapped this girl he likes and is going to use her for breeding.
Yeah.
there's that villain.
You know, but I get the feeling he would have probably given her up anyway. Like if he'd asked just nice enough, okay, fine, here you go, now go. You know, I did. I liked that character. I like the makeup. I
think the makeup and acting were okay, but the plot, as a plot device, it was ridiculous. It was like, okay, we must have this central villain character who knows everything, and it just completely was incongruous with what was going on.
I'm not denying that.
And his back
but the rest of the movie sucked, so it's gonna. You know, I don't necessarily want to tie into that, but but I knew I was watching it. I knew Kelly was not gonna like Jeremy Irons. She just does not like Jeremy Irons, and I don't even know why. He's amazing.
He is a really good actor, but I just think of him and I think of Dead Ringers. That has scarred me for life on Jeremy Irons.
Should make you think of great acting.
You just say scarred you for life?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. He's great at that too.
Yes. Can we discuss what happened at the end, like after the Jeremy Irons part? How the time machine like blew everything up and
I have no
magma
idea.
cracks in the surface of the earth. Like what?
I was watching it with my wife, and again, she's like, "Well, how'd that happen?" She was kind of assuming that they'd explain that, like, and I'm like, they didn't. Like, I have no idea why that worked or why they could climb away from it.
Charles, it's a time machine which he causes to explode, and therefore the explosion blast radius causes everything to disintegrate back into time.
And it kills all the bad guys.
Okay, hold on.
Left surviving all the good guys.
Hold
It is
on.
so convenient.
So I didn't think about that. Send him back in time. You don't think it just destroyed him? So there's somewhere else on the time.
Possibly, because it looked like they kind of faded. They kind of faded into nothingness.
I thought they just vaporized, is what I was picturing. But
I thought so too. That's interesting, actually.
I didn't think of that. So maybe they're not dead. There could be a sequel. Yeah. Except the Jeremy Irons is definitely dead.
Yeah.
And the Jeremy Irons character said that there are like different tribes of them all over the world, and it only looks like they destroyed one tribe of them. So I was also confused as to how that was a plot resolution.
That's exactly what my wife Kelly said.
Yeah.
So,
but while we're picking things apart, okay, so he kicks Jeremy Irons out of the time machine as it's going through time, and in my mind, immediately his body would be separated from his arms because they're in different timelines. But he just slowly aged until he died, which is kind of a cool scene, but
it was.
Still,
I mean, I understand it's not realistic, but it looked cool. It reminded me of the Raiders, or not Raiders Lost Ark, the Holy Grail, Indiana Jones and whatever the Holy Grail one is. I can't think what it's called. But it reminded me of that one because they show the bad guy. He drinks from the wrong thing and it ages him like instantly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Why can't I not think of the last Indiana Jones movie?
Yeah, I was about to
I'm totally blanking out.
I was about to be all snotty and be like, "Of course it's called," and then I couldn't remember it either. Oh my gosh.
Well, I know Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom,
Crystal Skull.
Do not speak of Crystal Skull.
I'm sorry.
Never happened.
Take it back. No,
It's something like The Last Stand or Final something, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It's one of my favorites.
I don't know.
It's my second favorite one.
Yeah.
I can't even think of it.
Out of
three. So.
I do actually. I will say I do like the way they did I like the look of the time machine. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like as far as graphics go.
And I like the effect too. I like the the way they showed it the first time. It's like all the aging around him.
Yeah.
And I even like I think it's Orlando Jones that plays the museum curator person, the encyclopedia. I liked him.
Yeah,
It's a little ridiculous that it still works like that many years later.
Yeah.
But I do like it when he's like, and yes, I even remember you. Like, I don't know. There's something about knowledge and time.
There were some promising
Twilight
little
Zone
nuggets. Yeah, there were some promising little nuggets that could have been cool devices had they been used more properly. I also think this movie is maybe 5 or 10 years too early, because it's interesting going back and watching movies from the late 90s or early 2000s because like we've gotten so good at making kind of gritty, realistic cinematic stuff now that when you go back to this, with the girl kind of trapped in the cage and he's trying to save her, and so it's kind of like this contrast of these really nice set designs and special effects, but still the script is still too early 2000s.
And I comparing this to okay, so the creatures, the whatever
Morlocks.
they were, the Morlocks, yes. Those looked so bad and stupid to me, like so terrible. But then I thought, okay, they made orcs really well in 2001
Yeah.
in the Lord of the Rings movies, and so I'm like, okay, was it just did Peter Jackson just have like a way more gigantic budget or what? Because these were light years away.
I kind of like the Morlocks, but I kind of didn't. Like, I liked the concept of it, and I like if I had just seen the mask itself, I think it would like, oh, that'd be a cool, creepy costume. But the way it moved and it was kind of like almost Uncanny Valley, where it didn't quite seem like they were really creatures, and it wasn't a good practical effect.
Yeah.
But when they were running on all fours, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was interesting. So, like you said, there were some interesting nuggets, but not enough to be ugly, and definitely not enough to be good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Have we picked this one apart enough? Have we traveled through its timeline enough?
I think so.
I think so.
All right. Let's move on to Beowulf, 2007.
Speaking of Uncanny Valley. And
yeah, exactly.
Did you want to do the trailer again as well first?
Yeah, let's do the trailer first.
Here it goes.
They say you have a monster here. They say your lands are cursed.
There have been many brave men who have come. But in the morning, there was nothing left but blood on the floor. And the benches. And the walls.
I am Beowulf. I will kill your monster. Do you want me to go in with you? Good.
Are you the one they call Beowulf? Such a strong man you are.
Show yourself! Tonight will be different. I am Ripper, Terror, Slasher. I am the teeth in the darkness, the talons in the night. Mine is strength and lust and power. I am Beowulf.
The trailer for Beowulf. The synopsis is a little short one here. The warrior Beowulf must fight and defeat the monster Grendel, who is terrorizing Denmark, and later Grendel's mother, who begins killing out of revenge. So a time-honored story. Zemeckis is tackling it, and this is my ugly, as you probably have guessed. Not only that, like this is up there with Little Nicky with like my quintessential ugly picks. 'Cause I'm actually kind of and again I feel so ashamed in Kelly's presence now because I feel like you probably think these are just as bad as Little Nicky, but I kind of like Zemeckis's the CGI stuff that he does. I really like the Christmas Carol as well that he did. Not as huge of a fan of Polar Express, but I think that was a little bit too early in the technology.
I like this movie for one. There are things I don't like. I would hesitate to even call it an ugly film, but I like this movie. Oh, man, my hair is crazy with these headphones. But anyway, so that was my thing. I was like, man, you picked Beowulf. It's like, and you picked The Road. And it's like, okay, this has to be the ugly one, I guess, but by default. But as I was saying, it's it's entirely computer generated. It's from 2007, and I think a lot of it still holds up. And I know that you guys may think I'm crazy on that. Like, there are some scenes where I do think it's photorealistic. But then there are other scenes that I think look terrible. You mentioned Polar Express. I think this comes across better than Polar Express as far as the realism in it, and it's interesting that when the actors look like themselves and sound like themselves, it comes across better. Like I think Anthony Hopkins they nailed that. I think that there's a lot of scenes that. But one of the things that bugs me the most about this movie is the fact that their voices don't match up always. Like so, and I don't mean like the actual animation. I mean as far as the tones of their voice and the accents. Especially you've got Ray Winstone is playing Beowulf, and Ray Winstone does not look like Beowulf in real life. That does not look anything like the man that's doing the voice. And they had to use it's a body double doing the body, and so Ray Winston's got that very Cockney British accent, and there are some parts where it just did not sound right. They say you have a monster here, and I will kill your monster, and that's
pretty good, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I've been driving my wife nuts with that ever since I was deciding I was going to do that. But anyway, that accent, I like Ray Winston as an actor, very tough guy actor, but I could not separate it from that voice. And then when you listen to the other accents in the movie, you have Americans like Robin Wright Penn, or I guess Robin Wright. It's Robin Wright now. That sounds funny. But you have her doing an American accent, Anthony Hopkins is Welsh. You've got Crispin Glover playing Grendel, and he's doing an American accent but speaking in Old English. And it's just, they're all over the place. There's no consistency to where these people are supposed to be geographically. I just didn't understand it.
Because it's a story for all ages, Charles, and all peoples.
Did that not bother either one of you? Did that bother either of you? Like, am I the only one?
Yeah, it did bother me a little bit, especially the Beowulf's accent. So, was it his face though?
No, that's what I'm saying. It was a completely different person that did the capture.
Because I assumed it was him, and then I looked up the picture of the actor. I'm like, that looks nothing like what's happening here.
Well, it doesn't, and he's a great actor. He was in The Departed, Mr. French, and he's a great actor. Just this is weird. It reminded me of the Final Fantasy movie from I think the early 2000s. I can't remember, where Alec Baldwin voiced a character, and the character looked like Ben Affleck, and that drove me nuts the entire movie. I'm like, that's not Ben Affleck's voice. Like, now they weren't going for Ben Affleck, of course, but still. Anyway, sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to hijack it. The accent thing really bugged me, and there is the storyline is kind of weird how it separates out into like there's two different periods to it. I don't really like the big jump in time they do. I didn't think it was handled well. And the aging, like I read, I think I read this a while back, that one of the reasons Zemeckis wanted to do this entirely in CG was because they were going to go so far into the future, 30 years or whatever, 20 years. But the thing is, they look exactly the same to me. Even when he opens up he's talking about how old of a man he is.
Super ripped.
He's freaking ripped, and he doesn't look old at all. I'm like, man, Beowulf. Like and they're just talking about how old they are. It's like, you look the same.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the reason this is an ugly pick for me is partly because of the CGI, but also just the kind of gratuitous Angelina Jolie body showing, and also the ripped guy as he's naked battling the troll. The
Austin Powers types. Those were goofy. Like, why did he have to be naked when he's battling? Like, I don't.
Right. It could have been loincloth or something, and it wouldn't have been as conspicuous.
And how Angelina Jolie's feet are like in the shape of high heels, even though she's nude.
Yeah.
I must admit, I actually kind of like that. I think that was an interesting touch. I'm not gonna lie. Because
it was interesting, but I think that pushes it into the realm of an ugly movie for me, and just Anthony Hopkins coming in, waving his arms, drunk, and he's kind of naked, with just a cloth draped over.
He falls off. It's like, come on.
He just kills him. So, but the cool thing, you mentioned the time jump. That like they stay pretty true to the storyline in this version, other than the whole adultery part of it. So Grendel's mother was just a sea hag or a swamp hag that he kills.
So I was going to ask you that because I don't remember it. I did read it in high school, but I don't remember it. Was there the whole thing with it being Grendel being the son of the king?
Yes,
that was in the story.
No. Sorry, no. Grendel was the son of what's her name? What's Angelina Jolie's character's name? No, I think it's just Grendel's mother. Anyway, he was the son of the mother, but not of Hrothgar. he was just a troll, and Beowulf kills the troll. The mother gets angry,
So when you say
he has to go.
You say no adultery, there. I mean, you meant both the king and Beowulf. None of that happened.
Right. Yeah, none of that happened.
Was there a big dragon at the end in the original?
There was a big dragon at the end. Yeah. So it almost is I kind of like what they did with the whole adultery part, especially it being, in the early 2000s. You've got, the kind of feminist stuff with seeing Robin Wright, having to put up with this horrible situation, and she's kind of in 2 loveless marriages, and and so bringing that in and bringing just the shame of the adultery and having this illegitimate sons coming back to haunt you and to kind of displace you. So it was kind of a cool little through line they came up with to tie all these 3 scenes together, which are exactly the 3 scenes in the original story. Was the killing of Grendel, the killing of his mother, and then the dragon at the end.
Well, and I did like that. I like one of my favorite scenes is actually the one where Anthony Hopkins is questioning Beowulf about killing, and he's like, "Did you kill her?" And he's like, well, if I hadn't, would I be here? And all day dodging the question. That's the part where it looked the most photorealistic. I was like, okay, I'm believing this acting now. And it was just also a really creepy, weird scene where now that Anthony Hopkins knows he's free of it. I love that scene. That to me elevates the whole thing above and beyond that one little moment. But you're right. That's all surrounded by these goofy moments. The Austin Powers nudity scene, like the over the top violence and the sexual nature, the bodiness of it. I guess I was actually thinking about this. Like, this is a PG-13 film in the U.S. Is this the most violent PG-13 film like ever? I mean, it has to be. They get away with more because it's animated, and the same thing with the nudity. Like, I feel like this would have been an R-rated thing if this had been actually photographed. And I think Ebert even mentions that, like that in his review of it, he talks about all that stuff, and it's kind of like you're at a level where it's almost photorealistic. What point would have tipped it off into being too much for PG-13? Because there's so much bloodletting and all that in the movie. Anyway.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I just. It's an okay movie, but to me, the animation is very weird in this. Like, even just the fact that it's animated at all, I don't understand why it isn't either, like, if they want to animate it, why it isn't more cartoony, or why didn't they just film it live action? Because there doesn't seem to be a huge point in expensively animating an exact likeness of celebrities. Like, why it wasn't. I guess this is just always the risk you. Whew, this is always the risk you run with. Sorry. Anytime you animate something and you open yourself up to the possibility of it looking dated in a few years' time. And to me, it wasn't like quite there where they didn't. I don't understand why, because it's like that level of detail in animation, it had to be expensive to do. And they were still having to pay Anthony Hopkins, Robin Wright Penn, all these people. So it's like, why didn't they just film them? Because I don't know. That was distracting to me. I totally agree with everything you're saying about the gratuitous and overly grossness of it. Like Grendel eating the guy's head it felt like a ridiculously long amount of time, like staring at Beowulf while he was crunching it into dust. And the lady's boobs swinging hither and yon while she's scrubbing the table.
Well, you said earlier, Kelly, that I feel like I just cut you off again, but we were talking about stuff earlier. You were talking about these are very much a guy's choice, like not things that he would have chosen. And this, I think, represents like this is a guy's film, a stereotypical male, thing. And I could see that. But I, despite all the things you're talking about, like I said, I actually like this movie. I really do.
But even for all that guy stuff, I think they were still. I think the Robin Wright thing is still at least laudable with showing just how unhappy she is and that talk she has with the younger girl at the end about everything, and it's like at least it's admitting to itself that this is not all glamour, and that this way of life way back then was horrible for any woman caught in this cycle.
Whatever kingdom they're supposed to be in. I don't even.
Yeah. Well, the whole Anthony Hopkins Hrothgar giving up his kingdom to Beowulf was not in the original either. Beowulf goes back to his land and is king there, but so that didn't make sense, him giving up his wife and all of that. You can have my life, my wife, my kingdom. I'm done. Peace out.
Yeah.
I'm hopping out this window now.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Let's hit the road, guys, and talk about the road.
All right, let's do the trailer.
right.
Here we go. Let's get the trailer.
I told the boy, when you dream about bad things happening, it shows you're still fighting. It's when you start to dream about good things that you should start to worry.
How many people do you think are still alive?
In the world? Not very many. It is cold and growing colder as the world slowly dies. No animals have survived, and all the crops are long gone.
We won't survive another winter here.
We gotta keep moving. Head south to the coast. The roads are peopled by gangs looking for food.
That boy looks hungry.
You look at him again, I'll shoot you in the head.
I don't think you killed a man in your life.
They're gonna catch up with us. And they're going to kill us.
I told you I would do whatever it takes.
Like what?
I'll kill anyone who touches you. Because that's my job. It's like it used to be when the sun came out.
Keep them warm and you go south. Are we gonna die?
Everything depends on reaching the coast. If there is a God up there, he would have turned his back on us by now. You're carrying the fire.
What fire?
Fire inside you. They're not gonna quit.
All right. And that is the trailer for The Road. Kind of a hard film to watch. But Kelly, Charles, had y'all seen this before prior to the podcast?
I had, yeah. I saw it in theaters.
No, I hadn't seen it.
Okay, so Kelly, what was your reaction then, just having seen it for the first time?
Oh my god! This movie was excruciating for me to get through. I'm not gonna lie. It's incredibly well done, and I can understand why you picked it. But man, is it bleak. Like, I mean, 3 minutes into it, I was like, wow, how am I gonna do this? I don't know.
She told me when she texted me when she started it, and then it was literally just like a few minutes later. She's like, "This is so bleak." I'm like, "You haven't even watched 10 minutes yet."
It was so sad. I can't. Yeah, but Viggo Mortensen, that being said, was amazing in it. He's such a good actor. And those 30 seconds with Robert Duvall were some of the most powerful in the movie, I thought.
That scene
he was
awesome,
barely
yeah.
in it.
Yeah, it was. I did like that scene a lot.
Quick synopsis. In a dangerous post-apocalyptic world, an ailing father defends his son as they slowly travel to the sea. So this is, of course, based on the book The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which won him the Pulitzer Prize. And it is an amazing piece of literature. Everything I've read by him is an amazing piece of literature because he's Cormac McCarthy. But I think once I had thought of this movie, I knew instantly it was going to be my good pick, even though I had just to list a couple of the good picks I was thinking of. Breakfast at Tiffany's, which I went and watched the first 15 minutes. I was like, oh no, because
because of Mickey Rooney or
Mickey Rooney's Japanese character,
yeah.
pretty rough.
Yeah.
Pride and Prejudice, Little Women. There's a good version of Little Women with Claire Danes and Christian Bale and a bunch of famous actors. Gone with the Wind. I didn't pick Gone with the Wind. I was about to, but it's a 3-hour movie, and I think a movie based on a book shouldn't be that long. Like, you should be able to make the transition from a full-length novel to an hour-and-a-half movie or 2-hour movie.
Is that also why you didn't pick Lord of the Rings?
No, I was thinking of Lord of the Rings too, but I think this is better because this movie made me want to read the book, which is probably obviously the best thing you can say about a movie based on a book. And I think they do such a good job capturing the essence of the book and the bleakness, and just seeing this father and son do father and son things, but the stakes are ramped up so high. It's survival at the highest dodging cannibals and street gangs and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's hard to watch, but I think it's one of the most profound cinematic experiences I've ever had watching this movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I can see that. It was gut wrenching.
Yeah. Charles?
I mean, I hear you, and I see all those qualities. I don't like this movie that much, and it's just not the kind of experience I would want to have over and over again. It's not one I really would want to watch again. I appreciate all the elements you're talking about. For me, this is kind of how it went in my head when you told me your picks. You've got The Time Machine. It's an H.G. Wells classic novel. Okay, I get that. Beowulf. It's the first story written down in English, Old English. I get that. So these are great picks, and especially where you put them in the bad and ugly. But when you get to the good, there are so many. And you picked like a bleak, depressing film, and I get that it's to the source, but To Kill a Mockingbird would have been up on my list if I was putting one. The Harper Lee Great American Novel kind of thing. And that's what I would have put, probably. That or Lord of the Rings would have been my pick for good. But anyway, or Wizard of Oz, or any of the Michael Crichton novels. You got Jurassic Park. I mean, you got all these great things that have kind of been cultural phenomenons. But anyway, so the bleakness of it, really gets to me. It's just a depressing film. So.
No, it's a happy ending.
And maybe Kelly and I were discussing this earlier. Like, is it? Like, are we sure he's not just tricking them? The children never say anything at the end.
Yeah, I think they left it kind of open.
And also, speaking of, McCarthy, I think No Country for Old Men would have been a really good choice too.
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
But anywho, but yeah,
I don't know that. Okay, so you mentioned Jurassic Park. What did you mention before that one?
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would have been a good pick. I don't love the movie as much as I love the book.
See, I love Gregory Peck in it.
Hard. It's a really solid movie, but it's not one that I've fallen in love with.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I also thought about Romeo and Juliet with DiCaprio.
See, I did think I thought of Shakespeare stuff for you. I was thinking, that would kind of completed what all three. I thought it would have gone better with it too, but I couldn't think of a Shakespeare movie that I thought was that great. Like, aside from Romeo and Juliet.
There's a Macbeth version with Michael Fassbender that's great of Macbeth.
Ooh, I remember when that came out, and I really wanted to see it, and I never did. So you would recommend?
Yeah.
It looked like it was going to be really good.
Well, and the thing about Jurassic Park and Michael Crichton is I was trying to go for more like literary, kind of more. That's why I said well-regarded, whereas I think Jurassic Park would be more popular fiction.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's why, like I said, I would have said something like Lord of the Rings or To Kill a Mockingbird, but that's the only one I would have switched out on you. But anyway, I like these picks. I do. I just this movie, I don't like bleak, depressing films. Like, they're good to watch like one time, but then I don't want to keep reliving them.
Well, the thing about McCarthy's book too is that he took this kind of not cartoonish, but there's a lot of like post-apocalyptic stuff that was a little over the top and not quite serious. And he makes it this Pulitzer Prize-winning book, and it's like this post-apocalyptic hellscape, that usually you don't treat with this kind of weight. And like the poetry of this movie, like if his is not the voice of God, then God never spoke. The dad talking about the son, and just like it's those little tidbits that the movie really pulled out and chose well.
And as Kelly said, that Robert Duvall scene is, I think, the best scene in the movie. By far. Yeah. It's weird to have these big actors play these really tiny roles. Like, even Charlize Theron, in her flashback scenes, and that was an important character. Or Guy Pearce showing up at the end. Like, is that Guy Pearce? Like, I remember the first time I saw him, like, wait, no, he wouldn't be in it for.
And he got like top billing too.
Yeah, it's in the trailer they showed all these people. The trailer's kind of misleading because there's
the trailer is bad.
There's two trailers that I came across. I was debating which one to show tonight, but One of them makes it seem like a big action movie, and they like intercut Charlize throughout it as if she's part of them the whole time. And then they have they talk all the Academy Award winners and nominees. They show Guy Pearce, they show Robert Duvall, and I'm like, all right, they kind of cheated that. And then I found the other one that I actually showed where it has more of the bleakness and it shows more of the Malone and him narrating it, but it still intercuts her throughout the thing, and you just you don't realize how isolating the movie can feel.
The trailer is basically like, this movie totally isn't all about cannibals trying to eat them the whole time and horrific scenes.
From what I understand, it's very, very close to the novel too. It follows the plot really well.
It is, and actually
it tones it down though, right? Because it gives. I've read that the movie gives more hope than the book did. In the book, the cannibals are eating. The cannibals are eating babies. Like there's a baby on a Spitfire or something. Have you read the book, Kelly?
No, I haven't, but I was reading that same thing about the book.
Yeah.
He does. Cormac McCarthy does a lot with infanticide because he did the Border trilogy with like Native Americans battling in Mexico and Americans, and there was a scene where they were like doing that with babies as well. But so I think that's one of his weird things he does a lot. But they actually shot that scene for the movie and decided not to include it. I think rightfully so.
Yeah. It didn't need it. It was dark enough without it.
But in terms of post-apocalyptic, like this is the most realistic movie I've ever seen because of the source material. Like this is how I feel things could go wrong and what might actually happen.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, they gotta go Mad Max style.
Yeah.
Have you seen You've seen the Mad Max movies, right? Have you seen any of them?
I have not.
Oh man,
I want to see Fury Road. I wanted to do like a post-apocalypse genre at some point.
You should do that. You should do that at some point.
You should, yeah.
Because I just pick something different than The Road, so I don't have to watch it again. But
we already did it, so now it's done.
No, I always tell Kelly, I always say, pick the one you think is the best. So, but anyway, so if you think The Road is the best post-apocalyptic, I guess we'll suit up and watch it again.
Suit up. I like it.
I wouldn't do that to y'all.
You did it to us this time.
Yeah.
Oh, there's plenty of other rough ones out there.
Oh, yes, and for every rough one you make me watch, I'll make sure you watch Another Room or something. Just
have we ever done The Room on this podcast?
Nope.
No, not as one of the Good, Bad, and Ugly. We've talked about it though a lot, and we did it.
5 years of suspense building up.
And
Charles.
Whenever like Topher and I saw Tommy Wiseau in Dallas, and we did a little review like on the spot of the movie there, but.
How would you do? Like, what would the genre even be other than cult classics?
Actually, I didn't think of that. I didn't even think of that until you said cult classics.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, something to think about. Tease our viewers.
Yes.
And actually,
well, I think these were good picks.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of that, like we could talk about the next episode. It's gonna be Kelly's choice.
Kelly's picks.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Pencil out.
And I'm not gonna cut you off. This is all you. I'm not cutting you off. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you say that now, but sometimes I'm not holding you to that. But okay. So this is the first time that I can remember really having done anything like this. But I was so amped about your pick, Mark. I think I am going to do a little continuation of this. We're going to do well-regarded fiction part 2.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna specify. I'm gonna narrow the lens a little bit more, and I'm gonna say let's do adaptations of classic fiction, like anything before the year 1900. And so my picks are, in chronological order, The Turn of the Screw from 1992, The Scarlet Letter from 1995, and Pride and Prejudice from 2005.
Oh, the Demi Moore Scarlet Letter. Eesh.
I don't think I've ever seen that all the way through. I'm excited about Pride and Prejudice because I've never seen it, and everybody says it's so great.
Ah, well, it could also be bad or ugly.
Is that the one with zombies? Is that the one we're watching?
No.
Okay.
Decidedly not, Charles.
Okay.
How dare you, you ruffian. You plebeian.
Yeah.
You can't pick any, like, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein or anything? Okay. All right, fine. Dracula.
Hey, you can do a part 3, and you can,
I will do no such thing. I have my genre, I think. So
the twist is, though, we have to all read the books as well as watch the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Moby Dick.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good one. We are going to be doing an Oscars episode, like a little special episode, a little mini one. What do we decide? It's going to be on the 20th at 8:30. We'll be doing it live. I think Toby's going to join us. So what we do is all the awards basically have been, all the shows are done except for the Oscars. Oscars typically the last one. And now that we have the BAFTAs, we can look at all of the awards, what everybody's won, and we can kind of give you an accurate prediction. The whole thing is not really to discuss the films so much as to help you win in your Oscar polls and contests and all that. So it's, in the past, we, even based on all that, we don't always get it right, but we get really close. Usually it's that Best Picture winner that throws us for a loop, and this year is no different. Even seeing all the other awards, I still have no clue. There's no front runner. I think the actors are kind of a lock, but we'll see. The supporting actress is kind of an interesting category. But yeah, so we'll be doing that live. That's the Thursday the 20th. It's the Oscars are on the 24th, so we're doing it a few days before the Oscars. Get your time to get all the all your stuff in, and hopefully win.
It's gonna be fun.
Are we doing any James Bond coming up? Have we decided that yet?
You keep asking Charles, and we keep.
I ask once a
giving
month.
answers.
Once a month, I ask at the show. You've only asked 12 times a year, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't think we've decided.
We have not set a date yet.
Okay.
We will. Okay, here's the thing. We'll set a date before the next podcast.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We think.
And some more well-regarded fiction. Okay.
I'm excited about this. I'm happy that that Kelly's keeping it going. This is going to be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, you guys can always check us out at itsjustawesome.com or on iTunes and Twitter at Good Bad Podcast, and that is all one word. That's the best outro I've ever done. Boom.
And I didn't mess you up, so there you go. Boom.
Nicely done.
All right.
If this mic were smaller, I would drop it.
All right. So I guess we'll see you later, guys. Have a good one.
All right,
Have a good one.
thanks.